Well, hello there. Uh, Perhaps you're wondering just who I am and what am I doing on. I think it's Orange Grove's channel for you PC users. Yeah, it's Orange Grove's channel. So what am I doing on there? Well, allow me to explain. This is Freshly Squeezed, and this is going to be something new for the channel. Freshly Squeezed is pretty simple. It's your source for information, juicy commentary, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. My name is Vash Guy, and let's get into it. So, the topic of, let's see, ticket reservations, or I should say, ticket purchases and theme park reservations. For the Disneyland Resort, it's been quite of an interesting thing that we've seen here. At first, the media and especially us on here on YouTube, we pretty much we may have overhyped it just a tad. The demand, I'm saying, the demand for the theme parks, and well, just how busy they might be in the opening days. And as we've seen, well, that really didn't come to fruition in the way we might have expected beforehand. Now, why is that? You could say it's for a number of reasons, right? Maybe it's the lack of entertainment. I mean, that does have a really big effect on the valuation of any single ticket that you're getting. But also, too, it's not just the lack of entertainment or maybe some ride or food options. It's also the policies that have been implemented. As we know, Disney has been one of the strictest when it comes to theme park policies and implementing them for their resorts, both here and Walt Disney World, as compared to maybe Universal, Knott's, SeaWorld, etc. So you're going to have a reduced valuation in terms of the price you pay. And that price, let's be honest here, that's a different story here in Anaheim because, well, as we know, 75% of the annual visitation of the Disneyland Resort, well, that comes from annual pass holders. And with annual pass holders, passes gone, well, that's quite a different valuation there, isn't it? Instead of people paying per month to get in, or maybe on an annual rate, or an annual schedule, I should say, well, now they're paying daily. That's a lot. Even if you take a $1,200 pass, for example, divided up by 12 months, maybe you're getting a lot of Disneyland per month at $100 a month. And now you might be paying $150 a day to get in. That's a much different valuation that it's ever been. And they've never charged really so much for so little when you factor in valuation and those other things into account. So this is very, very interesting. And I think that's what we're seeing from this. But really the question is this a good thing, bad thing? How do the parks feel about it? Well, if you saw past predictions, Orange Grove and I had conversations previously about maybe what we could expect the parks to actually do in terms of business. And we were pretty much in agreement that it would be very, very busy in the first month, and maybe not so busy in subsequent months, weeks after that. And if we go to the calendar, which I was able to put this little graphic up for the calendar right now, so let's go ahead and do that. There you go. You could see it broken down by month and broken down by one park per day tickets and park hopper tickets. And when we see there, it's pretty much like we predicted. The first month, really, really busy, especially for Disneyland. But not many parks blacked out in terms of the resort. Whether you can go to California Adventure or Disneyland. A lot of Disneyland's blocked out, but not much of California Adventure. Now, there are more blackouts in the month of June, obviously, especially weekends, and that's to be expected. But strangely, both parks are far more open in June than they were in May. So what are we seeing here? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. People are super excited to get back into Disneyland, and they're buying tickets to do so. And then once they've seen it, well, there's not much justification to go many more times after that until an annual pass holder program is in place. And they did promise that there was going to be something, right? Well, anyway, we can only hope. And from what I'm hearing, there will be an annual pass holder program, and it'll debut sometime, probably from what I'm hearing, in July. But again, maybe you'd like to subscribe to the channel and tune in and see if that prediction gets updated upon future videos or future commentaries, future discussions between myself and Orange Grove. So that's what we're seeing there. And if you look at Orange Grove's take on it, my brother in arms, love the guy, best guy, but he has what he's calling this is kind of like a mall, right? It doesn't mean when the parks aren't as busy as one may have expected, when they're not super saturated with guests, that doesn't quite mean that you're making less money than if it wasn't. And that's true, right? If guests that are in the park spend more, well, then what I mean by that is, let me rephrase. If guests spend more for a park that's not as busy versus a park that's extremely busy, but each guest spends less, well, that could be better for everybody, right? You could very well outpace the park that's extremely busy, and the guest experience is far more improved. So it could be a good thing, and I do believe Orange Grove's take is correct, but I think he left something out. That's not necessarily the most sustainable course of action to take. Think about it. People are going to go when they can at first notice, especially in the Southern California area. They're going to go. There's built-up demand. It's there. But once you've seen it, is there necessarily reason to go back over and over again? Well, that's a really hard thing to do, especially when you factor in parking, $25, and the cost of a ticket like we just spoke about. So I do think that'll fall off. And that's why annual pass holder, the program, will come back, because it's just, you have years and years, decades of built-in a built-in valuation for these parks when it comes to the local demographic. And that's just not going away, even if you try to train it out of them. To give you an example of this, look at Subway. They had the $5 footlong deal for, longer than probably years. And unfortunately for the franchisees, they didn't make much money from it. In fact, from what I understand, they didn't make any money from it. So they put they put pressure on Subway to end the program. And they did. They did relent. But by that point, it was too late. Everybody expected to get that same product for $5. And when it wasn't that price anymore, they simply waited until it was. And really, that's not really happened. They've had some discounting and some coupons, but people expect to pay that $5. And from what I'm seeing here, well, you're just not going to be able to change that. People, they understand what these parks are, and they have a sense of how much they're worth to them. And I don't think you're getting over that as much as Team Disney Anaheim or Burbank would like it to. So, what does that mean? What am I trying to get at? Well, it's very simple. The annual pass holder program will come back. I'm pretty sure of it. But then that raises the question, why did they do this in the first place? Why not announce an annual pass holder program before the parks even open? Well, that's the clue here. You see, I do think Disney knew this was going to happen. They knew that these parks, they were going to, how should I put this? They were going to do really, really well in the forward months. Maybe better than maybe what happened here. But they knew that would die off. So why necessarily put out an annual pass holder program if, as we just learned with Touch of Disney, people are willing to pay $75 just to get into a one of our theme parks, not even the mother park, it's the sister park, for what, $75 with no rides, no entertainment. Why should we debut an annual pass holder system right now? We can absorb those guests, control them in terms of capacity and all those kinds of things, charge as much as we would anybody else if they weren't annual pass holders, and we'd absorb that cash, and, well, it facilitates those people who most want to get into the parks, well, the most. So I think that's what we're seeing. I think Disney understood that there was a lot of pent-up demand, at least for the initial wave, even with the lack of entertainment options or the strict policies. And I think on their end, they were just saying, hey, look, if they want to pay, let them. Now, again, I'm not in full agreement with some of the tactics and some of the decisions that Disney's making. And we'll get into that in some later videos. But all I can say is, everything that we're seeing right now in terms of reservations, hype, and so forth, don't be fooled. The crowds will come back. These things will return. And even though maybe that demand doesn't seem like it's there, at least from what we're seeing on the calendars, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. They're coming. Trust me. Just wait for some of these policies to make their way out of the operation of the theme parks as it is. Wait for some of this entertainment to come back, and you'll see that demand peak right up. Especially after they announce the annual pass holder system. I don't think they'll have any problems with that. But this does lead me to, like I alluded before, some of my other thoughts when it comes to the Disney company and some of the decisions that they're making that may be good and may be bad. And I think it's worth discussing. So if you want to hear those things, well, you know what you should do. You got to subscribe for more Freshly Squeezed with Vash Sky and some great content from my dear friend and brother, Orange Grove 55. Now, we do have some exciting stuff coming up on the channel very soon, so you definitely want to subscribe, and that way you can make it to those videos, because there's some pretty cool stuff in the works. I can tell you that much for sure. And I'm pretty sure that's it, actually. My name is Vash Sky. You can find me on Twitter at V as in Victor ASA. I'm sorry, V as in Victor ASHSKY. There you go. Best place to find me on Twitter. When it comes to YouTube, I'm right here. I'm exclusive to Orange Grove 55, so you gotta come here for the good stuff. Anyway, I think that's it. Let me know how the audio sounds and how I look. This is my first time doing this, and I really wanted to make it special for you guys. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you around. Now back to our regularly scheduled Orange Grove 55 programming. Thanks, guys.